Answers by Guest, playoff edition, week one. Most leagues are in the playoffs. Tonight's video may be a little shorter than usual. I'm going to give you the key pieces that you need to know. A lot of people texting me and instant messaging me throughout the week, basically wondering who they should pick up. I got a few answers.
Awesome. Answers by Guest, guys. Week 14. I made 4 out of 5 playoffs, but not my most important one, so very disappointed when it comes to that. But playoff edition, man. Can you believe we're talking about the playoffs already in fantasy? Mind-blowing. All right, let's jump into the games, man. First game I got on the schedule is Indianapolis at Buffalo. Since it's the playoff edition, let's talk about players that are going to be helping those lineups, man. So who do you think on both sides?
Yeah, this one's going to be a tough one. Weather's going to be an issue. It's going to be snow. It's going to be blustery winds. So the passing games, even with these two not so good defenses, the Colts have the worst. I'd be a little nervous starting Kelvin, mostly because it's probably going to be Peterman. And Peterman looked terrible. Obviously, everybody knows, but I think he'll be a little better this time out. It is against the Colts. He's got at least that terrible outing under his belt. But Calvin, you haven't been playing the past few weeks because he's been hurt. I can't imagine he's one of your top 3 receivers, so I'd probably sit him. Zay Jones, same issue with him. You really don't know what you're getting with Peterman. If you're in the playoffs or playing DFS this week, there's probably some better options out there. LaShawn McCoy is going to be your best bet. And you've been riding them all along, so keep him in the game. The Colts, same next story. We know that when the snow's on the ground or if it's wet, it usually helps the receivers because the defenders, they can't keep the sort of tracking that the receivers know the routes they're going to run. The defenders have to guess. So it's the ground game. So, Frank Gore, he's not going anywhere. They keep not getting Mac involved. I think if I'm in the playoffs, the only person in this game I really feel safe about due to the weather would be McCoy.
All right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. I don't know why they're not giving Max some more burn. You would think, especially that they're not making the playoffs. Maybe they're just wanting to get Frank Gore to his record, and then maybe we'll see a little bit more Max. So,
Pagano, man, he likes his old men.
He does. All right, let's go on to the next one, man. Chicago at Cincinnati. Again, another one that, let's talk about the players. I'm assuming A.J. Green, anybody from Chicago that could possibly help out a playoff team.
Yeah, you're playing Giovanni Bernard because Mixon's not playing, and they have pretty much no other running backs.
Gotcha.
If I didn't have a bye in my leagues this week, I would have scooped up Bernard if I had an expendable person as well. So chances are, unfortunately, our video's a little late in the week, but most people know by this point Giovanni Bernard's going to be a solid play. And likewise, this feels like a week to me that Jordan Howard goes off. He usually is has a couple weeks where he's supposed to do really well and he doesn't do well at all. And then he has a game where you don't think he's supposed to do well and he kills it. So he's somebody that I would be interested in if I'm, tossing up him or, like a Latavius Murray or something like that. I would definitely feel safe about Jordan Howard. I tried to get Cody and fantasized me to put Howard in over Kamara, and I was only half joking. I didn't think Kamara would get hurt, but I thought that his production, wouldn't be what it has been because sooner or later, he can't just keep doing what he's doing. He's amazing, but sooner or later you got to have the downside. So I bet he wishes he would have listened to me, but.
Guess if somebody going to get hurt, though. I thought Kamara was going to have a game and a half, man. And the way he started, he almost had 5 points. And what did he play? A couple minutes?
Yeah, he played not even a full series. So
exactly.
Yeah, but it's Giovanni Bernard. You're obviously not sitting A.J. Green. There's nobody else you can really play. The Bears' defense hasn't been as good as it looked. Everybody's waiting for that Dalton breakout game. I don't think it's going to come in this one. I think it's going to be a lot of short passes to Gio. Croft, keep throwing him in your lineup. He keeps getting a touchdown on like 2 catches every week. AJ Green, you're not sitting him for the Bears. I'll play Howard. That's about it.
All right. Let's go on to the next one, man. Green Bay at Cleveland. I actually got a question this week. Do I start Jamal Williams or Alfred Morris? I'm thinking Williams, man. I mean, in Cleveland, don't get me wrong, Cleveland has pretty good defense when it comes to the run game, but I don't know, it's Cleveland, man. What are you thinking?
Well, first off, I think the Browns win this game.
Okay. You really have faith in your team, huh?
Only he just sucks. And he shouldn't. He just doesn't play. He drops back. He just continues to drop back and then just go back 10 more yards. And he needs to stay in the pocket and throw the ball. And this game's another one. This one's going to have even more wind than the Buffalo game, and this one's going to have just about as much snow as the Buffalo game. So it's going to be mostly a ground attack game. Earlier in the week, I would have said fire up Josh Gordon, 100%. Faithfulness that he's going to burn this terrible Green Bay secondary. He still could. He's we all know the talent he has and the things he's done in the past. I would still put him in as my wide receiver 3, especially if I need some upside. Like maybe I had Kamara on my team and he got hurt, and now I need, some points. I need a Hail Mary. Josh Gordon's a perfect Hail Mary. Cleveland's good against the run, man. I don't know if I would feel very safe with Jamal Williams. He's looked great, but they do have Aaron Jones. He's now another week healthier. He basically did nothing all game last game until the one carry he got, and he scored the touchdown to win it in overtime. Yep. So he's another week healthier. And Green Bay from the get-go this year was a 2-back team. It was Ty Montgomery, but they were always trying to get Jamal Williams a little involved. He just did nothing. And then Aaron Jones came in. It was Aaron Jones and Montgomery. I would think they're probably going to run them both. This is going to be a ground game for both teams. I think Crowell is a very sneaky play in this one. He's kind of been terrible, but I could see him busting one. This Green Bay defense is just terrible, and I think Green Bay, they won last week, and they're thinking, all we got to do is beat Cleveland. We get Aaron Rodgers back. I just have a feeling they're going to lose to Cleveland. And Aaron Rodgers is not going to come back. So if you're somebody that's holding on to him, hoping to play him in Week 15, you better be rooting hard for Green Bay, because if Green Bay loses, he is not coming back. And if he comes back, Mike McCarthy should be fired, because they're going to be 6-7, and they're not going to make the playoffs. The NFC's too tough. They got to at least be 7-6 and have a chance to win the last 3 games with Rodgers there and finish at 10-6 to even have a shot. Yeah. Again, if it wasn't for the wind and the snow in this one, the wind is the big problem, because it's going to be 20 miles per hour. And that's tough to throw the ball in when you have 2 terrible quarterbacks, 2 very inaccurate quarterbacks. They both have cannons for arms, but Hundley just doesn't know how to play the position as a pro. Kaiser, he shows flashes, but he's still just not good enough. And even though you got Gordon, I'd fire him up as wide receiver 3. I guess I'd play Adams, but I think Cobb's probably a good one, because short passes are going to be at a premium in this one. Maybe Corey Coleman even, too, as a possession guy. But, again, if I'm in the playoffs, Week 14, do or die, I would stay away from the Buffalo game players, even if it's McCoy, if I possibly could. I'd play maybe Howard over McCoy. I was talking about Howard before, and I would try and stay away from this Green Bay game, just because unless you have the running backs, this is going to be a tough week for a lot of people out there, because the weather is going to be a problem tomorrow.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I actually heard Crowell a couple of times this week from some people, so... just give you a heads up, your screen's a little choppy, so I don't know if you want to adjust it a little bit, but... All right. let's go on to the next one. Oakland at KC, division game, both 6-6, trying to make the playoffs. Again, in KC, I guess weather could be a factor, but also that crowd could be a factor when it comes to Oakland. Lynchman looking okay, man. Is this going to be another kind of ground one? Do we see some Hunt in this one, or you think it's all fires go for KC?
Oh my God, man! How long have we been waiting now for Hunt to finally break out? I'm just gonna look up the weather on this one really quickly.
No problem.
I don't remember this one being too big of an issue as far as weather was concerned. Yeah, I mean, this one's not going to be too bad. They're going to have winds going from end zone to end zone. That's different than the first two games where it's blustery and whipping around and going sideline to sideline. This one's going to end zone to end zone. That's going to help the receivers. I love Hill in this one. I love Kelsey. I love Hunt. And I love Crabtree. Cooper's not going to play. I love Derek Carr, too, as a sneaky option this week. I mean, he's been not good. But I think this one's a very high-scoring game. I would play my Chiefs, and I would play my Raiders. Even Marshawn Lynch, I mean, I hate the dude, but if you got him and your other running backs are just somehow you snuck into the playoffs and he's your third or fourth and you're one of your first couple, just maybe had Joe Mixon or something. You gotta, and you didn't get Gio. You throw Lynch in there. I like this one. There's gonna be a lot of points in this game. This is my pick for the highest scoring game of the week.
Gotcha. Yeah, Kelsey looking good in the first 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden disappeared for the rest of that game. But that KC Jets game was really good last week, man.
The Oakland defense is terrible, and Kansas City has not been good, and they don't have Marcus Peters. So this one's just going to be high scoring.
That suspension came out of nowhere, especially trying to go for a playoff position. I'm not understanding what Andy Reid's doing there, but
so Revis is going to start for him. So we'll see what Revis has left, but my guess is not much.
Yeah, Revis didn't look great last week, so
no, he needs to be a safety.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. I don't know, but. All right, let's go on to the next one. Dallas at the New York Giants. Eli the starter again. McAdoo fired. Reese gone. I see this being a really interesting game, man. I see Giants, for some reason, in my mind, I see the Giants whooping them. Whooping the Cowboys. I mean, really taking advantage of Eli's our quarterback again. I can see the offense actually playing pretty well. And the defense stopping Dallas. What are you thinking?
Yep, Giants are going to win this one. Eli's back, so the whole team's going to be pumped up, but the Giants are going to win this one. It's, kind of easy to see, and we know usually when it seems so easy, it goes the complete opposite, but I don't think it's going to in this. I think the Giants win this one. I mean, they hate Dallas. I mean, division rivals, the two teams can't stand each other, the fan bases can't stand each other, and I just think the Giants rise up for this one. This is the Giants' Super Bowl, as far as I'm concerned. Am I going to play any Giants? I mean, Shepard, Ingram. I mean, I'm not going to put Gallman or Darkwa into my lineups and feel very comfortable. But I would play Alfred Morris on the flip side over Jamal Williams because I at least know he's going to be getting – I mean, he's not going to do what he did last week. He could because the Giants' defense hasn't been great. But like you said, and like I think as well, they're going to step up a little bit. But I would play Morris over Jamal Williams this week just because, like I said, that Green Bay game is going to be sloppy, and they're going to be splitting carries. Nobody's really splitting with Alf. Dak will do okay. I think Dez is actually going to have a pretty good game. But I think this one's going to be a little bit back and forth. So you'll get some fantasy production, but the Giants do win this one. I agree with you.
All right. Sounds good, man. Don't have Dez in any of those playoff leagues, I guess, but hopefully in my consolation prizes.
I mean, the weather here is not going to be great either. But it's not going to be as bad as it's going to be further up north and further west.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Buffalo. But I'd probably play Dez over Devontae Adams if my wide receivers were so amazing that they were my two wide receiver 3 choices. I'd play Dez over Devontae Adams.
That makes sense. I can
If you
definitely
had
see that. Yeah, I mean,
the
especially
best,
going up that secondary, that the Giants just don't seem like it's there anymore, really. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Detroit at Tampa Bay. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one. I think this was going to be a scoring aplenty, man. Both defenses not that great. I can see the ball going a lot. I'm actually starting Golden Tate in a playoff game this week. On the opposite side, I think you got to play pretty much everybody. I know the running back situation's a little iffy in Tampa Bay. What do you think, at least for running backs there? Do you start a Peyton Barber? Do you start a Jaquise Rogers?
this one's tough for me because, I mean, if is Stafford going to play, how healthy is the hand?
Yeah,
You guys on the last play, like how terrible is that?
that sucks, man.
But Tate, yeah, I mean Tampa Bay defense is terrible. Tate and he can throw the ball fine and hold on to the ball. Tate's play because he's going to be the check down guy, the screen guy, and try and get him in space. More on the ball deep to Marvin. I got a running back sneak of the week and swapped in out of nowhere with Abdullah being out last, and yeah, he's a rookie. I had no clue who he even won, but I watched some of the highlights, and he looks pretty good out there. So I think him and Riddick would be a nice little 1-2 punch. The guy can catch the ball. He's fast. He's got a little bit of power. So Tion Green's a sneaky pickup. If you're watching this video and the games haven't started yet, and you need a running back for whatever reason, and you're scared by this weather and the other games, he's somebody maybe throwing your flex and you shoot for the moon. Flip side, Barr will be the starter. I don't think Doug Martin gets the job back, not after last week's game. In one league, I picked up, in one of my dynasties last week, I picked up Sims, Rogers, and Barber.
Oh my gosh!
Because I knew one of them would do well, and it dropped the other two. I think Barber's their starter next year. It's the second year. I think Doug Martin's going to go elsewhere. I would not be surprised if Doug Martin wound up on the Giants or the Lions even. I could see him on one of those two teams very easily because there are two teams that are in need of a running back. I think the Giants will draft offensive line, and if they could sign or trade for Doug Martin, I think that'll fill a big hole for them. So I could see him going there. It's Peyton Barber's team. But would I start him this week? No, because it's the same exact thing as last week. I mean, I picked up all three because I had no clue who it would be, and now there's four of them. And they're going to use all four. It's not like they didn't use Jaquizz Rogers or Sims last week. They used all three of them. Now they're going to use all four of them. Peyton Barber busted out, but who did he bust out against? Green Bay. They're terrible.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Bay.
And Detroit is not good against the run either. But, if Stafford plays and plays well, this is going to be – Detroit's going to have no problem moving the ball. And I think that Tampa Bay kind of abandons the run. And then you got to hope also in this one Mike Evans doesn't get shut down by Slay. Well, this one's going to be a tough one. We're going through these games, and, I'm sorry if you're watching the video and you're not really getting much, but there's tough games this week. I'm happy I have in the the 4 leagues out of 7 that I made the playoffs, I have a bye in all 4, and I'm very happy about that. It sucks, though, that Michael Thomas killed it on Thursday, because usually when a player kills it one week, the next week's not that great, so hopefully that doesn't ring true.
True, yeah. I agree with you, man. I'm fighting for life over here, so I'm going to be playing, at least, like I said, Golden Tate in one of my leagues, just because I got to. Hopefully Staffy does play, man.
Yeah, I think that I like Ebron in this one a little bit, too. I think he'll score a touchdown, again, especially because I don't see Stafford throwing the ball deep. And on the other side, Winston's second game back, Slay on Evans. Maybe we see Deshaun Jackson bust one.
Yeah, he actually had a touchdown last week that got called back. So
Yeah,
he did go to him. And Brait, too, man. I mean, Brait went from non-existent to when Winston comes back, he had 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's huge, especially in tight end pitches. So, yeah, man. All right, let's go on to the next one. Minnesota at Carolina. To me, this is the most intriguing matchup. I really like this game. Minnesota won a tough one against Atlanta last week, low scoring. I could see this being a defensive game, though. I'm starting Thielen in a couple leagues, hoping that I'm actually going up against Case Keenum, so it kind of maybe matches off with each other. But I'm not really feeling too great about a lot of these players on these two teams. You're right, it's a tough week. I can see this being a very defensive game, like a 18-15 kind of game somehow. So, who are you thinking?
I think you're spot on right there. I am comfortable, though, with the Minnesota players. I'm comfortable with Diggs, comfortable with Thielen, comfortable with Rudolph, comfortable with McKinnon. Murray, not so much. But that Carolina defense just continues to get better. I mean, they made that trade with Buffalo. That bolstered their defense. And Kuechly came back, and they've been really solid ever since. And then on the other side, I mean, you're going to have Funchess guarded by Rhodes. Greg Olsen just has not been good at all this year. Cam Newton is so inaccurate. You got McCaffrey catching short passes and doing what he does. You got Cam running the ball. And other than that, I mean, what do you really have with Carolina? So the tough part becomes, if this is a low-scoring game, even though I like all the Minnesota players, I mean, if Carolina can't do anything against this defense, Minnesota's just going to kill the clock. Just kill it. I mean, that's pretty much what they did last week against Atlanta, right?
Yeah, they did.
They just made sure that Matt Ryan never got on the field, and they just killed the clock. And, I mean, I see the same type of thing happening here. So you need to hope if you have Vikings and you're playing them this week, you need to hope Carolina scores some points, because if they don't get some points early, this is going to be very low scoring, like you said, and clock killing. Cam Newton's not the type of quarterback you want chucking the ball downfield to try and get Carolina back in the game. And I think Carolina's got the same game plan.
Yeah, I would think so. Utilize, yeah, exactly. Use your McCaffrey, use Stewart kind of thing. Those would be guys that I know I would think about starting, especially McCaffrey. But even Stewart in this one might be interesting, just because he got the rock a lot last week, man. I don't know if you realize how much he got the ball last week. He literally split half and half of McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm not sitting any of those guys. I just say temper your expectations, because this could be really, really low scoring.
All right, let's go on to the next one, man. San Francisco at Houston. Garoppolo looked good to me, man. He didn't score a touchdown. He didn't throw for a touchdown, but he moved the ball down the field. Was it Robbie Gould? Ended up being like the superstar for them this week. I'm starting Marquise Goodwin. I think he had a great game. He had great rapport with Garoppolo. On the flip side, Fuller's coming back. I don't think that makes a difference. I think Hopkins still your guy there. Is pretty much your only play besides Lamar Miller too. But what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that Carlos Hyde, I had a flashback. Carlos Hyde will disappoint you this week, I think, because Houston's still really good against the run. And I think they turned Garoppolo a little more loose this week. You're probably spot on with Goodwin. I mean, he looked really good with a good quarterback throwing the ball. Trent Taylor as well.
Taylor gets his burn, man.
Little shifty slot receiver, PPR setup. If you need a sleeper flex, you need that high upside. I mean, this guy's probably going to get 6 or 7 balls. If he can get over 50, 60 yards and maybe splash a touchdown, I mean, that might be the miracle you need this week. And on the flip side, I really like Steven Anderson. I talked about him in the video last week, how I loved him last year. But Fedora, came out be, the starter. Yeah. I think Anderson takes the job, and I think that Savage, likes him, and I think he takes the job right into next season. And with Fuller coming back, I see Savage taking a few deep shots. Neither one of these teams have good secondaries. This one could be back and forth, I think. I actually think that DeAndre Hopkins is probably, aside from maybe Tyreek Hill, your top wide receiver play for this week. Nice. I think he's just going to go ballistic, as he always does. 49ers is a great matchup. I think this one's very high scoring. I think you could play your 49er receivers and, maybe Garoppolo if you really needed to. Like maybe if you have Stafford as your starter, you pick up Garoppolo and you play your Texans. I mean, I don't know if I'd throw Fuller out there because, he had his five touchdowns and 7 catches, but I mean, like, a lot of those were big, huge plays. Does Savage have that type of arm and escapability where, the defense has to worry about him running down the field like Deshaun Watson was? I don't think that that's going to open up. But I'd scoop him and hope I win this week, and then maybe I got him for next week. But DeAndre Hopkins is going to kill it. I like Steven Anderson. If you're a Zach Ertz owner, if you're a Gronkowski owner, you could do a lot worse than Steven Anderson this week. He is aside from Austin Hooper, my tight end sneak of the week.
Very nice. I actually picked up Anderson in Dynasty, man. I saw that game. I was like, you know what? Let me scoop him up. I know we had talked about it, especially with Fedorowicz going on IR. Definitely a good call there.
Austin Hooper pointed, by the way. He should have had a touchdown. Also should have had like a 20-yard gain, but it bounced right off his chest. Like, he could have had a big game. He could have had about 13 points and a half points, but he just screwed up. And you know what? I mean, not his fault, really, because Matt Ryan had 4 picks, like 3 of them right in the end zone, or 2 of them at least. So, like,
yeah, I don't know. Ryan didn't look like anything like himself, and they pulled the game out, which is amazing. So, all right, let's go. Next game, my New York Jets at Denver. I don't know about this game, man. McCown is playing real good. I think you play everybody on the Jets, man, and maybe everybody from Denver too, just because the Jets defense isn't that great. I mean, look what Casey did to them last week. Give me a sneak in this one too. Give me what you're thinking.
Boy, this is tough because you have Denver, who's supposed to be no-fly zone, but I found out this week, they've actually given up the most wide receiver touchdowns in the league of any team. That's really surprising, and it's not even close from what I saw. I think it's like 5 or 6 touchdowns separates them from the next team. So that's pretty crazy. It's kind of like they don't give up yards, but somehow they give up a lot of touchdowns, and it could be due to their quarterback play being terrible and them coughing up the ball, short fields. So the teams are scoring touchdowns. Then you got Robbie Anderson hurt his hamstring this week.
I saw that.
And, McCown, I mean, Drago, he looks really good. His hamstring was hurt, I think, Thursday, and then practiced in full on Friday. So if he's good, there's no way you're sitting him. And Curse killed it last week, too. I mean, yeah, you're going to fire those guys up. If you have a Jets running back, who the heck do you play? Because, they're all there. So Seferian-Jenkins, this should be a game where he does really well. He's had opportunities. He's been robbed of like 4 touchdowns in the past 2-3 weeks. I mean, again, if you can't get Steven Anderson, if you didn't play Austin Hooper, and you have Ertz or Gronk, I mean, and Seferian-Jenkins is out there, you could do worse than him as well. For Denver, the Jets' defense does suck, but Simeon has looked terrible. And, I like Manny and I like Demaryius, but, outside of them, I mean, even the running backs have looked bad. Denver just looks terrible. But on the flip side of that, I mean, I think Denver wins this game. I don't know why I keep going against your Jets.
It's all right, man.
But this one's at Mile High, correct?
It is a Mile High, yeah.
And the line's really weird too. You've got a much better performing Jets team, and I think Denver's +0.5 or -0.5, something like that. That just tells me that Denver's going to win this game somehow. So if Denver wins, because their defense has given up a lot of touchdowns, this one's probably a high-scoring game. You could probably put Manny in your 3 or Demaryius in your 3 and get away with it. As far as a sneak, in this one. Is there one?
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. Just figured. For me, I think Virgil Green might have a good game. It seems like the tight ends, the Jets don't know how to stop. He had an okay game last week, so
Yeah,
for some reason Virgil Green just came to mind for me. So
but their tight ends are like they're so interchangeable. I mean, it should have been Virgil Green last year, and then they got AJ Derby, and then they drafted Jake Butt. Like none of them like really do anything.
you know,
Maybe.
yeah, exactly. It's a dart on the wall. I definitely think your other tight ends that you've mentioned previously would be a better call than a Virgil Green type. So just throwing it out there, see if you had anybody.
I mean, I don't think there's a sneak in this game. I think Anderson, Curse, you put him in at year 2 or year 3, and the same with Manny and Demarius. I mean, if they got you this far, for a couple teams I know for a fact they did, at least Robbie Anderson as of late, you're not benching him.
Yeah. Would you start McGowan if you're in a pinch?
At first glance, no, because Denver's no fly zone. But then I learned that they give up the most touchdowns, and that if I'm in a pinch, would I start him over Stafford? If like Stafford's like till 12:55, I don't know. Like I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Come on, give me some Jets love, man.
games are so tough this week.
They are, man. I'm gonna go to another tough one that I don't know who I would play from these two teams. Tennessee at Arizona. This is another one. I mean, is it Derrick Henry? Is it DeMarco Murray?
Okay.
What wide receivers are you playing? Delaney Walker, I think, is the consistent from Tennessee, at least from my standpoint. Arizona, I really like Ricky Seals-Jones just because I like to say Ricky Seals-Jones, to be honest with you. He looked good last week, too, though. I mean, he did have one drop or two drops or something like that, but Fitz, I think, is another consistent. Let's talk about the running back situation over there, too.
It's so funny. This is the next game because I actually told Cody, I said, play Marcus Mariota over McCown.
Really?
I feel like this is a game where Mariota has 4 touchdowns passing
Okay.
and maybe another one rushing.
Wow.
I think he's probably, aside from maybe Derek Carr and or Alex Smith, going to be the top quarterback this week. I just have a feeling anybody that watches these videos knows that I hate Mariota this year. He's looked terrible. I just have a feeling that he is going to blow up tomorrow. The Cardinals secondary is not that good. Peterson might not even play. I just have a feeling that Mariota just balls out and has one of those out of nowhere 350 plus yards, 4 touchdowns passing games, gets Corey Davis involved, Matthews, Walker, gets them all going. Even Decker, and gets the 2 running backs going. I think that this game is going to be pretty high scoring. Gabbert's looked great. Seals-Jones, Fitzgerald, one of the other 4 wide receivers, or maybe 2 of them, the Browns or Nelson or Chad Williams. I think this game is a game where if you're taking any of these guys, and then you even got Curran Williams and DJ Foster because AP's not playing. So you've got a lot of options. I think this one is a high-scoring game. I think Mariota absolutely kills it this week. I just know that Cody's not going to sit McCown. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that if you have McCown and you are looking at what Mariota's done in the past and you had to make the decision you're going to play McCown, but I like Mariota over almost all of the quarterbacks this week just because I have a feeling that he just blows up.
Very
it's
interesting.
Just those gut feelings where I just feel like Mariota kills it this week.
Wow, man, I should have asked you that question before Thursday's game because I was actually thinking, do I sit Brees for Mariota going against a Cardinals team that hasn't been really that great of a team? I did end up going Brees. It's the safety route for me, but wow.
You know,
Yeah, interesting.
Brees did all right.
Yeah, that interception at the end killed me. It took me below my projection, which I wasn't a big fan of. But what are you gonna do? All right,
Yeah.
let's go to the next one. Washington at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are for real now, man. They are clicking. They are healthy. Everybody looked good again, man. Phillip Rivers is pumped up every time he gets the ball. Kirk Cousins, though, from Washington, I know we've talked a lot of crap about him. He's all right. He's not bad. He doesn't have a great wide receiving core, but he still does well, which is just mind blowing to me. Let's talk about who you think as far as any sleepers in this one, maybe.
You play Crowder. Doxson has been getting touchdowns the past couple weeks. Other than that, only a handful of yards, 40, 50, 60, and a few catches. He could do well this game. If you're like me and you have a bye and you have Pirine on your team, this is a big game because you want to see how he does. Because I am almost at the point of benching him next week because this offensive line for Washington is just atrocious. And if you are not like me and you don't have a bye, but you do have Pirine, I would probably bench him. He looked okay last week. That was going against the Dallas defensive line. Now he is going against the Charger defensive line, who is way better. And if this Washington offensive line plays like they did last week, Pirine does not have a chance to get anywhere near 50 yards, let alone get out of the game uninjured or without fumbling. And if he fumbles once, you might not see him on the field for a very long time because Gruden will not put up with that. So I'm very nervous about Pirine in this one because that Charger defense. But like you said, Cousins, you play Cousins by Maxwell, right? Brian Marshall.
Yeah.
Byron Marshall. He got some more burn last week because Pirine also missed a blitz pickup. So he took Pirine out for a couple of series, and that hurt his value last week. If Pirine didn't get better at his pass blocking and this offensive line is not better, you're going to have a terrible week from him. I would bench him. I would not play him this week at all. I would actually probably play Jamal Williams over Pirine.
Okay, interesting.
And I was saying bench Jamal Williams, so I would probably put him in over Pirine. And as far as, the Chargers go, a lot of people love Melvin Gordon this week. I mean, I'm kind of falling out of favor with this guy. I kind of think he sucks. He's just a plotter. When he's really good, it's because he's scoring 2 touchdowns a game. He's catching a lot of passes. And the interesting thing about Eckler is he's actually gotten less play over the past 3 weeks, each game, less and less. So you've been seeing more and more of Gordon, but the production hasn't been getting any better. It's been kind of all Keenan Allen, just kind of tearing it up and Phil. So you're throwing Allen out there.
I think Allen's a wide receiver 1, man, for I think the rest of the playoffs going forward.
I mean, he always has been. He's just healthy, and I was waiting for him to get hurt week 1.
Yeah.
First play. He's always been a wide receiver 1. Anytime he's played, he's done this. I mean, this should not be a surprise to anybody. People that slept on him, like me, it sucks. If you didn't, congratulations. Because he's just been killing it. Other than him, I mean, who are you going to play? Hunter Henry? I mean, who can he continue to do things from week to week? He hasn't been able to.
Yeah.
I honestly think that this is probably a game where, the Chargers kind of control it. They haven't really had a game like that this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have, but blowout they've had, but they never had a game where they just kind of beat a team and just kind of did it kind of routinely and easily. Right. I feel like that's how this one's kind of going to be because their defensive line will be just too much for Washington. But I'm not going to bench Crowder. I think he's probably the safest play for Washington.
No Ryan Gruden-Grant in this one.
No Vernon Davis.
Okay.
Done. He had his couple weeks, and he's done nothing since then. Yeah. Give it up.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Philly at the Los Angeles Rams. How are both of them home? That's interesting.
They're both home?
It said, Los Angeles is in Carson at StubHub Center, and Los Angeles is in Los Angeles. The Rams. So interesting. Los Angeles Chargers are at Carson. I don't even know where that is. Yeah, but I think this game is going to be a defensive game, in my opinion, unless they have to. The running game doesn't work for either one of them. If they can get the running game going, I can see this being a low-scoring game, a lot of running. Unless that doesn't happen early, then a shootout possibly. I'm going starting everybody in this, to be honest, because I'm just not 100% sure. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Trey Burton is your sneak of the game in this one.
Ooh.
If Ertz doesn't play. I mean, ever since last year, anytime Ertz goes down, Trey Burton comes in, the team does not miss a beat. So it's their scheme. I mean, we know Ertz is good. He's a beast, but Trey Burton's a beast too. I mean, I loved him last year, even before Ertz got hurt. I remember playing him last year when I was scrapping for tight ends. While Ertz was healthy, I was putting him in the lineup. So if Ertz doesn't play, I mean, he showed last week, Ertz went down, and, like, I'm watching it, and I need points, and Ertz had, like, 4 catches, like, before he got hurt. He dropped a couple were bad passes. And, like, this was through 3.5 quarters, it seemed. And then Burton comes in, and he caught, like, the next, like, 5 passes from one. What the heck?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not going to miss a beat if Ertz doesn't play, so he's a good one. Alshon's been killing it. Aguilar continues to get his. Ajayi's going to split the workload. I'm still not comfortable starting him yet. Gurley, a lot of people are saying Gurley's going to be a top back this week, but Philly has a pretty good run defense. Their pass defense has been slipping a little bit, so this could mean good things for Mr. Watkins. I think you get a Sammy sighting this week.
Nice. He had a touchdown last week, man. So yeah, hopefully he repeats again.
And Cooper Kupp's been solid. He continues to get the most passes thrown his way. He's actually been catching more and more. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think I'd really bench anybody in this one. I would agree with you, except for Ajayi or Blunt. I don't think that I would play either of them.
Okay.
And I would be ready to bench Ertz, so I need a backup plan.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right, yeah, hopefully Sammy comes through, man. I really need him to come through in my Dynasty League, so... All right.
I think the Rams win this one.
Oh, interesting. Ooh,
yeah,
Philly
loses 2 in a row.
Losing 2 in a row. Dude, Seattle looked good, and I'm actually going on to that game next. It's amazing. I think Russell Wilson, MVP candidate right there, man. Don't get me wrong. He hasn't been in, it seemed like any of the conversations, but after last week's win, he has to be in the conversation.
I think after this week, he will be the leader because Wentz is going to lose 2 in a row. And before we even get to it, I think Seattle beats Jacksonville.
All right, that's actually my next game, man. For me, Jimmy Graham, Russell Wilson, that connection that they have when they're in the red zone is unreal. I'm starting Jimmy Graham, obviously 100%. You gotta. But I don't know. The wide receiver play is a little weird for me. For some reason, Richardson keeps on coming into my mind. I have him in Dynasty and actually in another league that I'm in the playoffs, and I want to play him. But I don't know. I'm not sure because, Baldwin's great, Lockett's good, but Richardson just keeps on coming to my mind. On the flip side, do we see Seattle stopping Bortles? Lee has been just unbelievable still. He's hurt every single week, but still puts up huge numbers. Do we see a good Fournette game?
I think that I would agree with you. I like Richard the most.
Yeah,
you're gonna have Bouye and Ramsey on Baldwin and Lockett, and that's pretty easy to see. They're also going to be worried a little bit about Jimmy. So not only do I think that Richardson is probably going to get, I would say, I'm going to go like 4 for 95 and a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. But one of those touchdowns could possibly go to my other sneak here, and that's Nick Vannett. They drafted him last year, and he did, 2 years ago. And last season, he played pretty well for the Seahawks in limited playing time, and each week he's getting more and more usage in the game in 2 tight end sets. So I think when there's some coverage on Jimmy, I think Nick Vannett could steal a touchdown this. I'm going to see about 4 for 34 and a touchdown for him. So I think he'll be a popular ad next week and next season. So if you're in dynasty leagues, I have a feeling Jimmy Graham is elsewhere next year. I just have that feeling. And I think they develop Vannett and keep him as their tight end, and Jimmy goes elsewhere. I think he's beloved there, but I think they view him as kind of expendable. But as far as this week goes, I mean, I'm not sitting any of my Seahawks. I'm not scared of this Jacksonville defense this week just because of where the game's being played and the role that the Seahawks are on. Even though they haven't been winning every game, they've been playing lights out since like week 4, since that Deshaun Watson, Houston back and forth battle. Yeah. They've been rolling. Their defense just continues to get a little better, and they're not playing against a great offense. But on the flip side, I love D.D. Westbrook this week. I'm definitely putting him in my wide receiver 3 spot. If it was between him and Josh Gordon, I would play him over Josh Gordon just because of the weather in Cleveland. And I love Gordon this week. But D.D. has just been getting more catches, more targets, more yards every single week. He's going to bust a long one. He's going to get a touchdown. He hasn't gotten in the end zone yet. He will get there this week. I can foresee it very simply. I do think Seattle stifles Bortles a little bit, but Bortles has gone back to the Bortles I thought that he always was. He's pretty good. He's better than Trent Dilfer, and Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, good point.
And I think this is pretty cool that this Jacksonville team is kind of under the radar. Like, if people look at the standings, they don't even realize that they are in the playoffs and that they're a solid team. But these two teams have got the same exact record. And I think if Jacksonville were to win this one, which I don't think they're going to win, but if they were to win, I mean, they would be a nice dark horse to get to the Super Bowl because they do have a good enough defense to shut down those Patriots. I would like to see that matchup, Jacksonville versus New England. But as far as this one goes, I think Seattle's offense is just going to be a little bit too much. I do like Fournette in this one. And a player I forgot to mention, Mike Davis. Man, he looked good last week.
He did.
I think they have their running back of the future.
I don't know, man. We've how many times have we said that about a Seattle running back?
I know that, but it feels a little different. I mean, I felt that way with Carson, and then when Carson went down, I was kind of like, oh, man, that sucks. Now we're back to Rawls and Lacey and Procise, but those 3 all suck or can't stay healthy. And McKissick's just a guy, he's okay, but I mean, Davis just looks so good. He's powerful, he's fast, he's shifty, he looks like a Barry Sanders. I know that's like sacrilege to say, but God, he made some cuts last week. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy. And it's funny that like the Niners even cut him back in the day.
I think to me too, man. I thought he was going to be the number 2 over there, to be honest with you. But
I think he's a great play this week. I'd play him over Jamal Williams.
Ooh, interesting.
I would.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, Jacksonville defense though at home, but okay, I can see it. Yeah, I mean, weather is going to be a huge factor over there. So, all right, let's go on to the 8:30 game. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. This rivalry is kind of, I think, where we're going to see what we saw last week with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. I think you're going to get the same exact kind of game, same exact kind of production from a Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. From the Baltimore side, I could definitely see their defense stepping up. But what does their offense do? I don't know who I play, to be honest with you. What are you thinking? Do you start anybody in your lineup from Baltimore? Collins?
Woodhead if I have to.
Woodhead?
Maybe Collins too if I had to. It's really weird because, I can't think of anybody I want to play in this team, but my lock of the week is Baltimore wins this game.
Wow, okay. From a defensive standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, just from a defense rivalry, I mean, this is going to be a 3-point game no matter what. It always is between these teams, no matter how bad or how good they are. I remember this was probably 2005, maybe, so I'm going back a little bit. But Pittsburgh was, I want to say, like 12-1, something like that. And I think that the Ravens were maybe like 2-11 and just terrible. And this game was tied, and Pittsburgh had to kick a field goal to win it, like in the last second. Like these two teams, they just play each other tough. The records go out the window. The stats, the players. I think they cover Brown and Bell just fine in this one, and I don't think Bryant or Juju will be enough. And the reason that I think they lose is because Pittsburgh should have lost the last two games. Pittsburgh should have lost to Green Bay. If Green Bay didn't have the worst coach other than the coach that just got fired, Mac a pedophile, if they didn't have McCarthy kicking 57-yard field goals with a 7-point lead and giving Pittsburgh a short field, Green Bay probably ends up winning that game very easily for the one quarter that was left. And if Cincinnati didn't completely fall apart and A.J. Green didn't drop every pass that was thrown to him in the second half, he had no catches in the second half.
No, I didn't realize that.
None. He had all of his production in the first half. He got 0 fantasy points in the second half. 0.
That's not good.
Yeah, I remember that game. I was like, oh, yes, I only need 3 points to win. And I'm definitely going to get it. I got a whole half. That's like one catch for like 20 yards, you know. He didn't get it. He got no catches the whole half. But Pittsburgh should have lost that one, but they won. They snuck it out. I've said this all year. I think Pittsburgh's very overrated, and I think they lose this one to Baltimore.
Interesting.
I don't know how, but I think they do.
Even with Ben at home?
It's got to be defense. It's got to be defense. Yeah.
All right, interesting. You know what's funny is that I have Baltimore defense who I will start every single week. But for some reason, I'm going with Green Bay, I think, over Cleveland. I've been having that switch. I've switched it probably like 4 times this week, to be honest with you. And I'm just back and forth and back and forth.
Is that in Dynasty?
In Dynasty, yeah. The only reason I'm not going with Baltimore, I think, is because I have Le'Veon. So I think I'm going to bite myself there. But I don't know. It's a toss-up anyways. I feel like no confidence at all.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Nobody out there everywhere?
I'm going to have to take a look, to be honest with you, after here. I wanted to hear your opinions on a lot of stuff to see what kind of players to be looking at. So,
yeah, I just have a feeling that Baltimore wins this one. I mean, I've been wrong before. I could be wrong. I like to take long shots with my predictions. I don't know if it's, I have a good instinct for it or if I just try and be the smartest or the coolest guy in the room. But I can see it. I mean, Pittsburgh, they should have lost 2 in a row. Like, they have no business winning their last 2 games, let alone all the ones before that. So I just think this is one where they fall apart.
Correct.
And I don't know how Baltimore's going to get it done, but their defense and I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, it's a toss-up for me. I might have to look at the free agents and see who's out there because I'm just not feeling confident in my defense this week. So, all right, let's go.
You're not sitting Brown or Bell. You're not sitting Brown or Bell.
No, exactly. You got to play. I mean, you have to. Which Brown killed me last week with that last-minute touchdown. I think I was up by like 0.2 points or something like that, and I ended up freaking losing. I will never not start Theo Riddick again. Just remember that.
Oh my God! By the way, that touchdown there killed you, or right with the Brown, or he had a catch or whatever, and then there was a Bell touchdown that knocked Poirier out of the playoffs, and then the field goal by Boswell put Herman to the 2 seed instead of the team he beat would have been the 2 seed, and they fell all the way to the 5 seed.
Crazy, man.
And by A.J. Green not catching a single pass and getting me just over 2.5 points allowed Keegan to become the 4 seed instead of being the 6 seed. So
Crazy.
that game had ridiculous, very minute implications. It was really fun to watch.
It sure was, man. I mean, I fell asleep just because I got so nervous at the end. I'm like, I can't watch anymore. It was too close. I was like, I'm just going to go to bed, close my eyes, cover my ears, and just wake up hopefully at 4 o'clock in the morning and hope that things had gone well for me. And unfortunately, the person did beat the player I needed, but if I would have started Riddick, like we've talked about plenty of times, I would have been in the playoffs, and unfortunately just didn't happen. All right, let's go on to the last game, man. New England at Miami. I think just New England destroys them. Division game, but New England's on a totally different level. Let's talk about who do you play from New England, though, because in my mind, you have Burkhead, you have Dion Lewis, but for some reason, I'm thinking James White kind of day for me in this one. And Gronk being out, who do you see taking over those targets? And then for Miami, Jarvis Landry is the only player that I'm playing, and Kenyon Drake. I mean, I think Drake's going to touch the ball. Not sure if Williams is playing or not, though, to be honest. He's out again?
Yeah.
So Drake's going to touch the ball 30 times.
Yeah. Here's your situation. You have everybody's sick on the Patriots. I don't know if you know this. Dion Lewis, sick all weekend. Still sick today. Hogan, sick. Somebody else sick on offense. Amendola is made of glass. Gronk's not playing. Cooks would be your best bet here against this Miami defense. James White probably, and Burkhead. If Lewis doesn't play, definitely those two. He probably does play because he's got all the way till Monday. The Patriots always usually, I don't want to use the word sucks too loosely, but they're never really that good when they got to go down to Miami and play. Miami usually has their number down there. Miami beat them, correct?
Say again?
Miami beat them earlier this year?
That sounds correct. Let me take a look.
They did. I think they beat them in New England, if I'm not mistaken. I think New England lost to Kansas City, and then they won. I think when they played Miami the first time, I want to say Miami beat them.
That sounds right.
So I think there's some bulletin board material going on in this game because I want to say also on top of that Miami was talking some smack about beating them 2-0 or 2-0.
They lost. It was at the Patriots. They lost 35-17. It was 2 weeks ago.
Who lost?
Miami lost to the Patriots. 35.
So I'm way off. Yeah, you guys can just turn off the video and stop watching because I don't even know what I'm talking about.
It's late, man. It's really late. We'll blame the time. You've been working your ass off, too. Oh, sorry. Language.
Yeah. Taken last year or something. I don't know. But anyways, I do know for a fact, and you could look this up as well, that the Patriots don't play all that well when they are playing in Miami. And Miami last week had a guy that I thought would play alongside Kenyon Drake, Davion Smith. Go ahead and Google him. I believe he played at Michigan. He's a rookie. The dude, I want to say he's 400 pounds. He's not. He's just huge. And he's like a muscle ball. And he's a pounder. And they signed him from the practice squad leading into last week's game. But then he didn't do anything. So he's somebody, because usually on Monday night, someone comes out of nowhere a lot of times. And everybody's like, who the heck is this guy? And here's how Miami beats the Patriots. Pound the ball, control the clock, right? You're not going to get Jay Cutler into a shootout with Tom Brady, even if all of his guys have the flu and are on crutches. It's just not going to work. So I think Miami's game plan is going to be to pound the ball, short passes. So you're looking at Julius Thomas, you're looking at Jarvis Landry. Parker fell off the face of the earth. You cannot play him with confidence. I'm very close to dropping him. I want to see how he does this week before I do that, though. I think that you're going to see a lot of Kenyon Drake, and I think you're going to see this guy, De'Veon Smith. I think that you're going to see him on Monday night pounding the rock and trying to beat up the defensive line of the Patriots. I wouldn't play him because this is a long shot, but I would be ready to scoop him if I need somebody, because if he does play and he shows pretty well and Williams continues not to get healthy, this could be their goal line back, going forward for this year and possibly next year as well. Dude's a rookie. Dude's huge. He's powerful. He's got some burst. So other than Drake, I'm with you at Landry. I would add Julius Thomas as my only other play. And for the Patriots, just check and make sure that Lewis, that you have. Hopefully you got Lewis, you got, White. Hopefully if you got Lewis, you got Kenyon Drake. Because if you got Lewis and he doesn't end up playing, I just gave you De'Veon Smith. I mean, who else are you going to pick up? They're all taken. You might as well pick up De'Veon Smith and throw him in your lineup because you're getting a 0 out of Lewis anyway. Yep. The other guy that was listed as sick was Gillislee, but he's going to score whether he's healthy or sick. So I gave you a guy, De'Veon, and if you have Lewis and you're planning on playing him and he doesn't end up playing, you got to go pick this guy up and put him in your lineup because Kenyon Drake's gone, Burkhead's gone, James White's gone, so you have no hope.
All right, very interesting, man. Yeah, let's see what happens. Anything else, sir?
Oh, man, best of luck to everybody. I'd say this to people all the time, and I don't know if it's, really advice or it's kind of like I don't want the pressure of being wrong, but it really is the best advice. Go with your gut. I mean, you do it all the time, Rob.
We talk about it all the time, man. You got to go with your gut.
Wrong. Sometimes it's right, and when it's wrong, you kick yourself. You say, "I should have listened." And when it's right, you say, "I knew it." But you got to go with it. You got to pick your gut and go with it. And if you don't do that, don't ever do it. That's the thing. You can't go with your gut sometimes and then go with what somebody else says the other times. You made it this far. You're in the playoffs. If you've been listening to me or listening to some other radio or some other show, then that's what you have to keep doing because your gut doesn't know anything. If you've been listening to your gut all year and you hear somebody tell you something else, don't go against it. You got to pick one thing and go with it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. We always talking about go with your gut. Your mind might be telling you one thing, but if you feel it in your gut, go for it. I agree, man. Playoff push. Good luck to everybody out there. Answers by guess. Happy fantasy, everybody.
Oh, and I had to give a shout out, right?
Go for it.
Yeah, I had Scott Cantrell, right? Brandon Sperling's another guy. Noah, I forgot your last name. Sorry, buddy. You're going to yell at me about this. You guys wanted shout outs. It's so late. It's almost midnight. I've been working double shifts for 3 days trying to buy diapers. So I'm sorry. I will hit you up next week. Next week I'll be so much more full of energy because I'll be on the edge of my seat because I will be entering the playoffs in 4 leagues next week.
Lucky you with all those buys. I'm hoping I'm there.
Brown, it will be gray. Look like my beard.
Nice, man. All right, guys. Happy fantasy. Answers by guess. Hit us up.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, man.
See ya.